Yo, what's going on guys? It's Kurt, your coach of the Adelaide Absols for APA Season 3. This is my draft analysis. I had second pick of the overall draft. So for my first pick, from the stats you can probably already tell who it is, but I decided I would pick up the monster Kieran Black. Kieran Black is a great wall breaker. It can be a bulky wall breaker, fast offensive wall breaker. It could be a great Z-move user. Its move pool is super diverse with Ice Beam, Fusion Bolt, Earth Power, Dragon Claw, Draco Meteor, Flash Cannon, Iron Head, a whole lot of coverage moves. Base 125 HP makes it relatively bulky. The base 170 attack is great for getting offensive pressure onto things. You're forced to prep very defensively for this thing. You have to basically have a wall try and make this thing wear itself down if it's holding a life orb. If it's not, you have to chip it down yourself, full priority to finish it off later. Base 100 defense with that base 125 HP is really helpful for just sort of getting hits and taking them. It could be ran bulky to take advantage of that base HP stat. 120 special attack. It's great for like Ice Beam and Draco Meteor. Great coverage. Helps it break other things if they're physically defensive. It then goes and breaks them specially. Base 90 SPDF, not as good, but it still takes a big, it takes a few hits from the special side. Base 95 speed, a little bit on the slower side, but it's not too slow. This can mean that it can run Scarf and outspeed a lot of Mons. It can run min speed and be used in Trick Room if I so choose. I don't think I'll be using Trick Room, but the option is there. It's probably not the best in Trick Room, but it is an available option. So round 2, I thought I needed a fairy type before they all started being taken. Most of round 2, a lot of fairy types were still there, but I decided that I would go with Mega Guard. Now Mega Guard is great for specially wall breaking and dealing a lot of damage, especially for Kieran to come in and clean up if it needs to. It's got great Wish support, Carmine Sweeper, Healing Wish to keep things healthy. It can set Trick Room, but I doubt with that base 100 speed I'd be setting Trick Room very often. Base 68 HP, it's not really taking as many hits. Base 85 attack, it's not really worth running this thing physical with that pitiful base attack. Base 65 defense, it's not the greatest. It can take uninvested physical steel hits or non-damage boosting steel hits on the physical side. Base 165 special attack, again this just breaks walls, knocks things down, chips things up for Kieran to come in, or something else later to clean up with priority. Then we have the base 135 SPDF, so this way it takes a lot of flash cannons, it can take shadow balls, it can take sludge waves. It's nice and bulky. If you get up a Carmine, it's taking a lot of special hits. Again, that base 100 speed, it's speeding a lot of Mons. There is other Mons that will outspeed it, but there's nothing you can do there. Trick Room would be useful if this team abuses speed and Tailwind. So next up, I thought I needed a Steel type to complete the core. So I also wanted to trap things so that Mega Guard didn't have to deal with them later, like Steel types. So next up, I went with Magnezone. This is a great, especially offensive Mon as well. So in the first 3 picks, I got a lot of special offense It's not as bulky with base with 70, 70, 90 defenses. It's not the greatest. 70, 115, 90 I mean. It has base 70 attack, so again not worth running physical. Has base 130 special attack, so close to Mega Guard special attack. With Electric Steel Stab, that gives me a lot of coverage. Magnet Pull, trapping stuff like Scizor and Skarmory, and Heat Train if I was feeling lucky. Again, base 90 Speed F with the base 70 HP, not the greatest. Especially it's kind of weak. It takes a couple hits physically, and then base 60 speed, really not the fastest. It would need to run a lot of speed investment to outspeed a lot of things. You would need Choice Scarf. You could run Analytic with this base speed, just get as much damage off as possible. A great Trick Room Abuser with this base speed, but more so with Analytic and Magnet Pull. It would help trap things and deal a lot of damage on slow Volt switches. So next up, I felt I was lacking a little bit physically after picking up Mega Guard and Magnezone. I also wanted to start my Fire, Water, Grass core, so I went with the God of Fire, well, the Dog of Fire, Entei. Entei is great physically. It can be used especially with that base 90 special attack, base 115 HP and attack, helping it just, you know, generally take hits and deal a lot of damage. Banded Sacred Fires don't really have many switch-ins with base 85 defense and base 75 speed F. It's really not the tankiest, but with that base HP stat, it's taking a few hits. Base 100 speed, again, relatively good speed tiering. Would have been nice to be faster. Extreme speed, just a great priority move, outspeeding all other priority. Natural Gift to run some stuff like that for if I can't cover it with my other moves. Bulldoze for speed control. It's got Flare Blitz if I don't want to run Sacred Fire, if I don't want to miss. Stone Edge, Rock coverage, it gets Solar Beam, Calm Mind, it's Substitute. It can do a lot of stuff. It's just a great all-around Mon for a round 4 pick. So next, I wanted to continue this core of the Fire, Water, Grass. I felt I was lacking defensively, so I decided to go with the Aqua Dog, Vaporeon. This thing's great for Wish support, Heal Bell support, just general support. Can be ran offensively if I so choose. Water Absorb and Hydration, great abilities to abuse against a rain team. With Leftovers, it's taking a lot of hits. Base 130 HP, giving it probably the highest HP stat I've drafted so far, making it really bulky and a really nice addition to the draft. Base 65 attack, not the best. Ooh, sorry. Base 60 defense, so relying on HP, physically defensive. So a lot of HP investment would be used if I need that. Base 110 special attack, so it's dealing a lot of damage in return for taking that. Base 95 speed F, so not as reliant on the HP stat, but still heavily reliant on it. It's going to need it to take a lot of hits. And that base 65 speed, again, just sort of there for bulk. Not really going to be ran with max speed very often. If it is, it's for outspeeding a threat to my draft. So next up, I decided I would finish my core and pick up my fighting type, even though the fighting type is sort of overlooked. I decided to pick up another defensive mon in Chestnut. Chestnut is great for spikes. It gives me spikes, it gives me Leech Seed recovery, it gives me a third sweeper if I so choose physically. With that base 88 HP, it's taking a lot of hits. if you couple it with the physical defense. Esprit, it's kind of lacking with base 75. Base 107 attack, so it's dealing a lot of damage on the physical side. It could be used, it's more going to be defensive, but I can run sub belly drum sweeper, I could run just a bulky sweeper, I could run mostly physically defensive. It could be ran with an assault vest to take special hits. Generally it's just better support mon for hazards and recovery with leech seed, passive recovery. So next up, I thought I needed rocks. I have spikes, so I also felt I was really ground weak with my only resist being Chestnut. I went for a second psychic type here and went for Esprit. Now I've used Esprit before and it's a really good mon. It deals a lot of damage, it can take a lot of hits, it's got rocks, healing wish, it can calm mind, it can do a lot. Base 80 HP isn't the best, but then base 105 in attack, defense, special attack, and special defense means it can be run both physically, special, it could run defensively, it could trick room if I so choose. I doubt I would run that. My draft just doesn't suit trick room at the moment, not with the way it's wall breaking. I could run a Specs Esprit, I could run berries to negate some of the damage that I'm going to take, and just generally it's another support for healing wish to keep my sweepers healthy. So next up, I felt I wanted to get webs. I wanted to get something really defensive, take a lot of hits. I needed a rock type at this point, so I picked up Shuckle. Shuckle is great with its supporting moves: Stealth Rocks, Sticky Web, Toxic, Contrary Shell Smash, Sturdy to guaranteed take a hit. Oh, I forgot to mention that Esprit was a Levitator for that ground weakness. Base 230 defense and 230 special defense means it's taking a lot of hits. Unfortunately, its base HP isn't the greatest. It could be better, but yeah, it's helpful with this mon. Base 5 speed, so it's nothing is getting outsped by this. Absolutely nothing. It's really just for bulk. It can attack. Power split though, so it can drop a lot of attacks with that base 10 attack. It can guard split if I felt that I needed to. Power trick if I needed to make this thing offensive, even though there's really no reason to make this thing offensive, because then it takes 0 hits defensively. With that base 5 speed, it does nothing. It's just support with sticky webs and rocks and a whole lot of other stuff with Encore and Final Gambit and all of that good stuff. Next up, I decided I would get something a little bit more bulky. Again, this is just a really bulky offensive draft. I decided I would go with Gliscor. Now this, with Poison Heal and Defog, is great for hazard removal, which was something I was lacking up until this point. So Defog on this is really nice, and it's base 125 defense with base 75 HP, means it can take a few physical hits on ground and plane, so it's not really taking the best with ice type attacks. Base 75 special defense isn't too bad. With its HP though, it's not taking too many special hits. Base 95 attack, so its earthquakes aren't weak, but it's hitting fairly hard. Base 45 special attack, so relatively useless. Base 95 speed, so again around the same speed tiering as Mega Guard, Entei, and Kyurem. I just felt I was starting to make a bit of a slow draft, so I wanted to get this and not have the speed tiers too much of a difference. It can set up Stealth Rocks, it can set up Swords Dances, it can be a Taunt Stall Breaker, it can Swords Dance and click Earthquake on a lot of things, it can Toxic Stall things if I really felt like doing that. So in general, it's just a very helpful mon to have on the draft. Next up, I decided I would go with something a little bit for my tier 5. My final free pick, I decided I would go with Ditto. Now Ditto with base 48 in every stat. It's not the fastest, it's not the most offensive, it doesn't have the best HP, but with Imposter, I can make it so that it can be a real threat and a real annoyance to set up sweeper teams. It can force people to play around it and lose sweeps. It's just generally an annoyance for most drafts. Its base HP unfortunately doesn't change, but all the rest of its stats will change, so it has a lot of opportunities to do some work depending on the matchup. With Scarf, it means that it guaranteed outspeeds those sweepers and offensively just pressures them. And finally, I decided I needed a grounded poison type to get rid of the toxic spikes that could potentially be brought, as I don't have much in the way of hazard removal. So I decided I would pick up Muck. Muck is just generally, it's pretty bulky with base 105 HP and 100 Speed F. Base 75 defense, not the greatest. With Stench and like Aftermath and stuff, it can really be an annoyance for physical mons. Base 105 attack, again, hitting relatively hard, dealing a bit of damage, and it can set up curses, it can set up stockpiles, it can do a lot. It's a nice poison type to add to the roster. It's a toxic immunity outside of Gliscor and Magnezone, so if I don't bring them, I do have a toxic immunity. It can pursuit trap things, which is really nice, and it can just generally do a lot with the elemental punches and a lot of other moves with Recycle and Figgy Berry and stuff to be an annoyance with Curse. And it just generally does a lot for my draft, with adding up to the Toxic Spikes immunity, Toxic immunity, the special defense, as I sort of started to lack on that. It's a nice Assault Vested switch in. It's a really nice mon for the draft. Base 50 speed, not the greatest, but it's workable. That's why Curse would come in handy. Doesn't need the speed, so it can abuse the low speed to just set up all of its defenses and offense. Especially, it doesn't need anything to improve with 105, 100. It's really bulky. So with that, that's the end of the draft analysis. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys for week 1 of APA Season 3.